Okay, good morning, good morning, good morning. This is Desiree Dubois. I'm the founder of An Empowered Woman and Homework. And Homework is where you can live where you work where you live, anywhere in the world. And what I'm sharing today is part of our Power of Seven program. And we're just really excited and nervous at the same time about producing that live. We're going to be doing it virtually live on the 18th and the 19th of this month. So one of the parts that we talk about is sponsorship, because the whole program is designed to be able to share with you how to monetize your expertise, get more credibility, visibility, and revenue streams, but also how to gain additional $100,000 in your business. Sponsorship is one of the ways to do that. It's a great way to be able to fund your dream. So let's talk about the different types of sponsorships. And there's probably a lot more that I'm going to discuss today, but the three major parts are the financial sponsorship, a company, program, product, or service that pays you to be in front of your audience. The second way is an in-kind sponsorship, someone that will give you in exchange for services. For example, we had a sponsor, U.S. Bank was our sponsors for an event that we're doing. They gave us the facilities to use on a monthly basis. They also provided the food and the wine for that event. So that was in kind. They didn't give us money, but they gave us something that would have cost us money, which is equally as valuable. And then the other kind of sponsorship is media sponsorship. Promotions in a magazine and a radio show and a TV show, the media, that's being able to take your event or your whatever it is and be able to give you media, give you exposure. And that too is very valuable. So that's what sponsorship is. Someone being able to support you and being able to get not only your word out to the world, but being able to be attached to your market. So some of the things that are really important though, and that's attractive to sponsorship is a niche. All right, so if you're all over the place and just don't have a specific market, then how are they going to know what your reach is, what your connections are, what your engagement is, what your community is? So you have to have a niche. For example, our niche is women professionals and entrepreneurs. It's always been that and always be that. Now, of course, other people can see and participate and learn from our programs, but what we speak to is women professionals and entrepreneurs. I speak to that because I've been a woman professional and entrepreneur since I was 12 years old, or maybe a girl professional and entrepreneur, whatever it was at 12, but that's been my journey. So I'm very passionate, I'm very knowledgeable, and I'm very engaged and enrolled in supporting women in business. So that was easy for me. Say you're an athlete, say, and you're a soccer player, and you communicate mostly with other soccer players, from the young age of children's soccer players to the older soccer players. Well, that's a niche. Say, for example, you're in the flower business, you're in the real estate business, you're in, I think one of the ladies talked about she's in the HUD, she's working with HUD, that's her niche. So being able to define your niche is the first thing you need to do, because you want to say to somebody that I have this niche, I have these eyeballs, they communicate with me, I'm communicating with them, and I can deliver your message to that person. Because when the sponsorship, you're talking about a brand, again, if they sell corporations, well, that would be appropriate for us because we have women professionals and entrepreneurs that are going to start corporations and start companies, so need that legal identity to be able to establish themselves. But we can also go with people, cosmetic companies. Women wear cosmetics, women wear perfume, women wear fashions. So that's still, it's giving you so many options in that way. So it could be from financial services, it could be from, again, even food lines. I mean, women make the buying decisions for their families for the most part for the food. Women buy cars. It could be a car company. We had Mercedes-Benz sponsor our Mother's Day events that we did at the Polo Grounds years ago. We've had IKEA when they were launching their home office divisions in their stores. They sponsored us because we brought women to their stores and they were able to show and demonstrate how they can take these small spaces, at that time kitchens and closets and corners of rooms, and create home offices. That's the market they wanted. We've had sponsorship for financial services where they want women that are building businesses that have wealth and are building wealth. That was their market. So whatever market is there. Whatever market you have, there's many, many, many companies that can sponsor you. And we think of the large companies. We think of, again, the IKEAs or the U.S. banks or the airlines. There could be a lot of small companies. Okay, your company, my company, is interested in more eyeballs. So depending on the price point, we could be potential sponsors for you. We've had liquor companies sponsor our yacht cruises because they want women to start drinking more flavored liquor at that time. So it can go, the array can be far. We've had women that do hair extensions. Well, that's a very good product. They usually charge between $2,500 over $3,000 for that. So it's women get hair extensions. So it's to her benefit to sponsor our events and advertise to our market. So the main thing is, one, make sure you have a niche. Make sure you're able to have a niche that not only you have, but you have their email information, you have a database, which is when I encourage you to always put things out in the market and have a call to action, which leads into your CRM, which is your contact relationship management system, whether it's Infusionsoft or a HostGator or MailChimp or whatever it is. Have something, some way that when people say yes to whatever you're doing, it goes into a database. That way you have a database, you have a list of potential clients for them. Also, being able to have that list, it can be extended to your social media. Do you have followers? Do you have connections? Do you have people that are following you on Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn or Pinterest or whatever your segment is? Do you have numbers there, people that engage there? Do you have events that you do where you're in front of live crowds? So it all brings back to some of the things that we talked about, your podcast. We have had sponsors sponsor our podcast. We do a 12-part podcast series where we feature women that have built million-dollar businesses. We just recently, last month, did one with a 4-week for women, and we're getting a sponsor for that. It could be 4 women that are built million-dollar businesses. A potential business will be interested in that market, because they're not only getting those women, but they're getting those women, their peers, getting women that aspire to be million-dollar businesses, and so forth. So get a list. So you have your market, your niche, and now get a list. Be able to get a list. Be able to say that you have this amount of people that you have that connection with. And it's not always the quantity, it's the quality. So no matter where you are, maybe you're just starting out and you don't have thousands or hundreds of thousands of people following you on social media, or you don't have a list of thousands. It just can be as small as 30 people. If you have 30 engaged, specific people, and I say that because we had one financial advisor say that she would pay us X amount of dollars if we could get her in front of 30 women who had million-dollar businesses. Because she knew that out of 30, maybe her rate, she got 10% of that. Or maybe and then that, for example, that one person is going to be worth the dollar amount in, her investment, which I'll talk about in a minute. So it doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be specific. Again, so think about now, take a moment, think about what specific market do you have that people would want to do it, and think about what companies you have or you know of that would want to be able to engage in that market. Now, one of the things that it's easy to do is that, who are you engaging with? So if this is your business, like I can go first to my, I don't use checkbook anymore, but you could go through your checkbook or your payment plans where Infusionsoft is one of the services I use. So women like me would appreciate Infusionsoft because I've been using it for years. It could be, I also use Cabbage. I also use PayPal. I also use Square. I also use Canva. I use Blog Talk Radio. I use different brand lines for clothing. I use Chanel for my fragrance. I use certain cosmetics. So again, start with what you use. Because if you're your target market, then that would be easy way to be able to approach people to say, okay, this is what I use, this is what I share with my consumers. People always ask me, where you got this? What are you doing this? What are you using for that? What do you use for your website? What do you use for, again, whether it's business, whether you're driving, whether you're eating, whatever it is, it can expand across a large board. There's no limit for what kind of sponsors you can be able to use. So now you've identified your niche, you've identified the type of market, whether you want large or small, where your people are, but they've got to be contained. You got to be able to show them, I have this list of so-and-so, because if they're investing money, they want to know. Now you can utilize different mediums. Okay, how do you share your information with that community that you have, with that list that you have? So I mentioned podcasts. That's why it's good to know how to do a podcast, because you can do it ongoing basis, every week, every month, every day, or you can do a series of them like we do, like doing a series of them so people feel it's a special series, a beginning and an end. And that way I know I can fulfill that commitment. But podcast is one, because when you listen to podcasts, people always say special thanks to my partners or sponsors, or this has been brought to you by. I mean, you've seen it incorporated in many different ways. So that's one way, podcast, the audio. Another way is being able to do videos. If you do a video series, say for example, you decide today, I'm going to get in front of this video and I'm going to do a 4-part series, a 6-part series on how to do this. You know, how to step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, step 5, step 6. And I'm going to get a sponsor to sponsor that series, because I know that these people are going to want to know more information about it. Simple as that. That's a video. It could be a YouTube channel. It could be a show. We did a show. We used to do a show called Take 5, where it was 5 minutes, and we had we interviewed 3 ladies on different topics. We chose the topics from Entrepreneur Magazine. Those are the things that were trending. Those are things that they designated to be of interest to entrepreneurs at that time. So we didn't have to do that research. We had that information available to us. And the ladies talked about it, and we did a series of those shows. So we got a sponsor to sponsor those series of that show. That was one format. It could be, again, any kind of format. These people, think about what you see. You see people in cars doing that, karaoke in cars. Okay, they can get a sponsor to that. There was a gentleman who was doing something like that. He was singing. It was a solo person, and he had some kind of car, and he would just blast his radio, and people would be looking at him, giving him high fives and things of that type. He started recording it. So a car dealership reached out to him. I don't remember which one it was, and they gave him a new car. They figured if you're going to be in your car doing this every day, we want them to see you in this car. They gave him a new car, and he started doing it, and getting more and more, and then plus money from that point on. There's a young lady that her name is Ramona. We call her Sky Chick, and she flies planes, but she also, Honda sponsored her in a little RV. It's the cutest thing. She showed us about what it looked like, and she blinged it out with chandeliers and things of that type. But they gave her this RV for her to drive across country. She's still driving across country. I think she's about 8 months in, to all these different cities and all these different shows and all these different events with their Honda RV, so that people can see it and they can see how she's designed it, and they pay her additional dollars, and in addition, pay her dollars in addition to giving her this RV. So she's getting not only the financial support, but she's also getting the in-kind support, from that point. It could be if you enjoy photography. My brother-in-law enjoys photography, and he does it for a lot of different children's events, the schools. He did it for his kids' schools, and he posts them. But he takes a lot of interesting things, like when they're jumping in the air, or when they're, just doing different things, not necessarily the stagnant, but more action shots. So a camera company, I think it was Canon, he approached them to sponsor him. They saw his photography. They saw that he had all over his social media. He had it all over he had, all these different things that he had shot, and all these different schools he's been shooting with. So they sponsored him the camera, plus they gave him some dollars for whatever administration to be able to promote it, and so forth and so forth. So there's a lot of different things and places you can do. So we talked about podcasts, we talked about videos. You can do it even the sponsors for written words. If you want to have an e-magazine, or a magazine or a blog that you do consistently. It's a medium that somebody can see that you have connection with, you have engagement with on a consistent basis, and they want to attach themselves to that. All right, that's a written word. So live events, we see it commonly at live events. We see it when we go to different shows and different pageants and seminars. You see sponsor signs. They have signs. They have signage there. They have mic time, where they're actually, have time in front of the microphone, or on stage time, or they have marketing tables there. So there's many different things and mediums they can utilize for that. So whether it's webinars, ladies, whatever you're doing, basically, and do consistently, even for, again, as small of a period of time, to 4 to 6 times, you'll be able to get a sponsor to do that. So the important thing is, again, to identify your niche, to decide what medium you're going to work with, and now decide, again, what the kind of content you're going to share. You can share whatever content you share ordinarily. You don't have to really specify different content. whatever you're doing consistently on a basis, like for example, young lady today had that background that says talk to Susan and something else, I don't remember what the other part was. She could have a sponsor there. She could have a sponsor on there. And she can say, every time I do all these YouTube videos or I do all these Zoom calls, whatever, consistently, then you can see their marketing, their branding. So it can be as simple as that. People will pay for that exposure. They want to be in front of your brand. And it's more popular than actually advertising because it's more targeted. And this really came about after the 2008, economy adjustment, where companies were just advertising to be advertising. They were putting these big dollars into big magazines like the LA Magazine and so forth, but they realized that, even though LA Magazine or New York Times or whatever has so many um, publications, it doesn't mean that everybody is going to watch or see their article, their ad. So they got smart. And they said, okay, we were more targeted. If we are selling pools, we want to be able to target to homeowners. If we're selling cars, we want to be able to target to people that are driving. So things of that type. If you're selling eyeglasses, we want to target people that need eyeglasses, that market that would need eyeglasses. So that's what you want to think about as far as different mediums that you can have them, that you can create, different content you can create to be able to put their branding behind it. Now, one of the biggest things people say is that, okay, how do I charge? How do I price this? What do I get? My thought is that, there's this from one end to the other, and I'll tell you how I think about that. Obviously, it depends on what you're bringing to the table, what you're offering, and that's why it's important to have something to offer. You don't want to just go say to a potential sponsor, sponsor me, I'm the greatest, I have this, I have that, and so forth and so forth. What you want to do is approach them with the fact that I see that I admire your product or service. I use your product or service or been following it, and I see that you are really involved or you really want to capture the attention of this specific niche. To my example, I see that you want to attract the attention of women professionals and entrepreneurs. And what we have built is that we have a community of X amount of people on our database, on our list, our email list, with this kind of engagement, because you can see all those analytics and those stats easily. Also, we have the podcast so that we can reach them audibly, and that gives us worldwide exposure. We've done a series, this series, that series, this series of that. Or we've also do videos that we do, or we're going to be doing a series of videos that will be specifically designed to attract this type of people and so forth, which would be great for your brand. And then also we're going to have live events. We have a live event that is a live event that we do quarterly, or we do monthly, or we do virtually, whatever the case may be. So you share with them what you have to offer them. It's like, why should they think or care about what you're doing? Why should they care how many followers you have or how many this or that? They really want to know what you have to offer them. And that's much more powerful. With that information, they're able to say, we do want to reach women in that area. We do want to reach women in that medium, or we want to reach children, or we want to reach, again, men that love cars and buy things for cars. Whatever it is, you want to make sure that they know that you have captured that. And then from that point on, you can start the pricing. If you're really just involved in social media, there's this app called the Social Media Blue Book. And literally, there's a free version, you only allow one platform at a time, but you go to the Social Media Blue Book and you can put in your Instagram account, and they can tell you, they analyze it, and they can tell you, they give you a range of what you could charge for that. Or you can put into your LinkedIn or your Facebook, whatever one you want. If you get the extended version, you can actually put in more than one social media platform, or you can just do one at a time or create different accounts. But that is one way, if you're heavy in social media, to be able to get an assessment. It's just a blue book like a car. You go into your car, you get a range of what the price you could get for your car. That's what it is with social media. So that's one way. But the second way I think about it is that is one, you ask questions, you find out what they've done so far. I mean, what have they spent? What do they have in their advertising budget, first of all? Like, what have they spent in the past and how that's worked for them and what they still have left in their budget? Because if it's a company, a smaller company that maybe only has $10,000 in their budget and you're willing to put a $50,000 sponsorship, it's not for naught. It's not going. They're going to say no, we can't afford it, and they're not even really going to feel that whatever else you offer them is going to be of value because you started with the 50,000 and that's your price point. So they think if they got it for $10,000, it's not really going to be substantial. So what I try to do is find out from them what they spent money on their behalf. So have they spent 5,000, 10,000, 50,000, 100,000 in the past? So that whatever number I get them, it's not going to cause them to shock. No shock. I don't want the shock value here. So that they're not going to feel like, oh my gosh, that's way too much out of our league. You can find out what they've spent in the past, and you can find out how that worked for them. So they said, I spent $50,000 and we did a magazine ad and we didn't get anything from it, blah, 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 blah. Then I know what their objectives are. Then I know, okay, they didn't get any response from that magazine ad because maybe it was, I don't want to say any names of magazines, but it was a huge magazine and not everyone's seen that ad. Maybe they go, it's a fashion magazine. Maybe they look at the clothes. Maybe they look at the, things in the back of the ad. So I can counter that. I can talk to that. I can show them now sponsoring what we're doing is more targeted and how they would have that success by partnering with us. Maybe they said that they did live events before, but they never got any response from them. We'll say, how did that happen? Like, what did you do live? Did you have a marketing table? Did you have time to speak in front of the crowd? Did you have an offer? Again, maybe maybe they were there, but maybe they just had a banner in the space and no interaction with the people, no connection. Maybe they didn't get the list of the attendees. It's something as simple as that. You can say, okay, wow, all right, well, we want you to participate in our live event, but this is what we're going to do. We're going to include you in the invitations prior to the event, so that even the people that don't come to the event can click on a live link, not just your name, but a live link that takes them to whatever page or landing page or whatever it is from that point on. How that's important, because if they just put a link, if they don't have a link, they see your name, they're not going to drive any traffic. So you want them to drive traffic. It's not any big deal to add a link to their name or to their logo that's on your literature. If it's not a live link leading to a certain place, they won't know where it came from. So maybe all of a sudden they had an surge of sales, but it didn't designate to a special landing page or a special person, and so they don't know where it came from. So when I'm going to do that, I say, can you or somebody specify a landing page or opt-in page or a giveaway so that you know those additional click-throughs came from us, came from our marketing. So that's one simple thing that you can do to give them more activity immediately. And then also you can set it up where you get notified and they get notified. So you're able to really say that, I see you got 50 people, that came through just by your link, just being on our invitation that we sent out to our database. So you have a database of 10,000 people. It's really realistic for people to say that 10 people will click on a link if it's of interest to your audience. And if they're tracking that, that's 10 people more than they had before. So there goes some value. Then if they show up at the link, you can say, listen, we can have you at the front door in your, sometimes we had AT&T sponsor some of our events, and they came to they greeted our ladies at the front with their AT&T branded golf shirts. And so people immediately knew they were from AT&T. What they did, they welcomed them. Thank you for coming. If you prepaid, go to this line. If you need to get your tickets, go to that line. Simple as that. But immediately when people walked into the room, that they were able to see where that branding is from. So then further, when we had a drawings at the events, and so we let them host the drawing, which means that was a time at the end of the program where people waited. They wanted to see what the drawing was. They were able to offer a gift prize or something as well. So they say, hi, my name is so-and-so from so-and-so. Thank you so much for coming. I'm glad to be here because AT&T offers a great business accounts, and for to be able to get a designated you get a designated representative. If you have any problems, you get discounts and blah 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 blah. So they were in front of the room. They got front of the room mic time is what it's cost. Then they were up there for the full time as other people had drawings and things of that type. Or they can be the person that introduces you on, introduces you off. They can be a part of the program as opposed to just like a standalone. Then they had a marketing table there, of course, so if people wanted more information, they had something for free or something for opt-in or something discounted. I mean, a reason for people to go and to act now. So now even that, and then they had signage there. In addition, maybe their signage was at the front door, or signage in the room, signage near their marketing table. I mean, just at that one event, they were significantly present. And that made the difference in them just having a banner someplace where people could see or not see, or engage or not engage with them. So that's why it's important to ask what they've done and how it's worked for them. I would not have ever known that that's important to them if they had not told me that they did a live event and nothing came of it. Would have never known that I could offer more to that live event, if I didn't ask that question. So asking that question is imperative. So say, for example, they've done a series of different things. Ask what they did, ask they invested in it, what it cost them, and ask what the return was. But most importantly, ask them how they were able to determine that return. Okay, were there stats? Were there lists? Were they, like sometimes the value has been, we used to do these dinners for financial planners, and I use that as an example because they don't have the ability to do a lot of blatant advertising. And some other industries, like even attorneys or even doctors, who did a lot for a lot of doctors, because OBGYNs and one doctor, Dr. Gail Jackson, does a lot of bioidentical hormones, which is women professionals and entrepreneurs, is her market. So we did a lot of different things where she was, and we refer to them as partners, which they like it better than just a sponsor, because they feel that actually our partner with you, and we feel you're partnering with us because you're making it happen. You're enabling us to be able to do these things because your dollars is making it possible. So we're partners. So we're incorporating them in our fabric of what we're doing. So knowing what they've done in the past, knowing what they've invested in the past, and then you being able to say, this is how we do it differently. And then also, I have a boilerplate sponsorship package kind of program where I give them price points, or some of them I think we don't. Even on our sponsorship page on our website, we don't have this price point. What we say is this is what we offer sponsorships. We can offer sponsorships, and we like to customize a package for them. And it starts at $10,000. That's what we have on our website now. That, starting at $10,000. So it means, okay, yes, they know there's a starting point. So they're not guessing whether it's $500 or $5,000. We start at $10,000. But this is our buffet. This is our array of things that we can do to be able to share their brand with our community. And with me asking them what they've done, what they haven't done, what's worked and not worked, I'm able to customize a package that will work for them. I found like we had a Fusionsoft at one point sponsor programs. Their thing is they want to do webinars. They just really, the branding was good at the live event. Having the marketing table was good, but they didn't really care about the podcast or anything else. They really wanted to do webinars. That's how they got the enrollment. That's how they got their engagement. So I was able to customize an event where we introduced them to our community, and they had a table, and they had the mic time and all that jazz. And they actually even had bags where they gave different things away to people, to the attendees. But the big thing was that we launched a series of webinars that they gave on how to market, how to utilize and feature stuff in market. And that was very successful for them. So again, you're able to customize it. And it started at $10,000, so they knew that was the buy-in. But they were able to justify it because at that time, well, their program was pretty expensive. And at that time, they had like a $3,200 buy-in. So all they needed was 4 people to get their ROI. So that's the next important question. And when you're talking to sponsors and sponsorships, what is their price point? Where does it start? And they say, I know it may vary from high to low or low to high, but what is your price point? Because you want to know, again, what they need to achieve to be able to accomplish an ROI. So for example, if they say their product is $35, they have a $35 bracelet or a $35 item. It's going to take a lot of $35 sales, which is not impossible because they're easy sales, to be able to figure and invest $5,000 to make it worth their while, to be able to double their money, triple their money, and so forth. Whereas if it's like an attorney, and an attorney does corporations, and the corporations start at $1,500, then $5,000, all they need is 3 to get their money back, to be able to get more of their investment. So got to have an idea and realistic, and let them tell you what their idea of their price point. Say, for example, they have services that range anywhere from $100 to $5,000. What do they want more of? Do they want more $100 clients, or do they want more $5,000 clients, or do they want more of $2,500 clients? What do they want more of? I asked you that same question. What do you want more of? So what do they want more of? If they say, I want more $5,000 clients, you know, if I want more luxury home buyers, I'm in real estate, I want more luxury home buyers, great. Those are people that, so then you start talking about jumbo loans, you talk about luxury homes, you talk about luxury things that would identify, would reach and communicate to those people who are looking for that. So find out what they're looking for more of. Then you're able to say, okay, great, Mr. So-and-so, your price point is $5,000 a person. And if you're given an audience of 100 people, which is a fraction of what my database is, but I say 100, 1%. If you've got 10,000 people, that's 1%, 100, well, I don't know, that's whatever percentage that is, it's a small percentage. I'm not doing the math. That's possible to do. Do you think that's possible? Yeah, I think it's possible, because half of that would be 50,000. No, what did I say? Half of that would be 5,000, and half of that would be 2,500 people. So it's a very small percentage. That's realistic. So if you were able to get 100 people to say yes to being interested in your product, program, or service, and you were able to close out of 100 people, only one of those people for $10,000, then you made that $10,000 back. Now, if you're, so that's like, by my investment, if I ask to you is $10,000, one person. If it was your program is $5,000, it'd be two people. But say out of 10,000 people, more than two engaged in your service. So say 10 of them did. Then that's 10 times 5,000 is $50,000. So for you to think about whether investing $10,000 is worth your while, think about how many people you really need to say yes. So you need to convert with your magnificent, awesome product, program, and service that I endorse because I use it or I've vouched for it to my community that I have leverage with, that I have influence with. Then your ROI is there. And then it's a no-brainer. Then it gets to be stupid if they say, well, it's not going to work for them because you've dummied down the numbers so low that it's almost impossible for them not to be able to accomplish their goal. So we talked about the niche, we talked about the different platforms you can use, we talked about a different type of products, but also now talk about the pricing. So you can use the pricing again, basically if you're social media heavy, then you utilize that as a starting point or it's a different point. If you're not, then just utilize what you do have, the influence you have and who you have influence over. That's the pricing. So sponsorship. Sponsorship is the ability to be able to get another party that wants your market, that wants your eyeballs, and be able to pay for it and be able to benefit from that investment. And it can be, again, a live event, it can be a virtual event, it can be any event. It can be a small group, it could be a large group. It could be, again, in numbers, it could be just anything. It could be, I mean, there's so many different examples that I can share with you of sponsorship again. And like for even a small amount, for example, we have our membership, and our membership is $497 a year, so it's $500 a year. And a young lady approached us. She has a radio show that she does on Blog Talk Radio, not a big deal at all. But she says, I say, how often do you do it? She does it every week. How long have you been doing that for? She's been doing it for years. I don't remember now. It was a couple years ago. And she was asking for $500. So I thought, okay, yeah, she's got people there. She's got a community there, and she speaks to them. I don't care whether it was 10 or 20, even if it was just 20 people that she had following her. All I needed was one. She was asking for $500 a month. So I said all I needed to get was one a month to get my money back. And if I got two a month, then I was able to double my money. So why would I not spend $500 to be able to double my money? And why would I not? And if she got more, I would increase it to more, and so forth. So I'm saying that to say that it doesn't have to be a large amount. Say, for example, you have a project right now, and you just need funds to be able to pay for the project itself. Like we've had projects where we say, we have this budget for our producing the podcast and for our cameras or whatever we're doing, and the marketing of it, and that maybe comes to $6,000. So you want to be a partner with that and cover those costs. Maybe they weren't giving us the money directly, but they paid for that. It wasn't necessarily in kind, but they actually paid for that. Some of the companies now, I'm finding that instead of giving you the money directly, they're saying what's your cost, and they'll pay for the food, they'll pay for the drinks, they'll pay for all of it. I think it has something to do with some tax changes that may have occurred in the past. But whatever it is, it's fine, because that we were able to do something we would not have been able to do, or would have had to come out of our own pockets had we not had that partner. So I hope I've given you some ideas. It can be from a small company to a large company. It could be a small amount, from $500 to $500,000, depending on what you're doing. I encourage you to do something on a consistent basis, like either for a full program, like a 12-week program or 6-week program, or a year, as opposed to going month to month, because then you're constantly having to re-engage and resell that. So if you say it's going to be $10,000 per year, and if you pay for it in full, it's $10,000 a year. If you pay for it monthly, it's $1,000 a month. So they save $2,000 if they pay for it in full, or if they pay it for a monthly, then it's $1,000 a month. If you do a monthly sponsorship program, make sure you're very, very clear that that's the payment option. It's not an option for them to say after month 3 or 4, I'm not getting any results and I'm out of here. So if the commitment is $10,000 and it simply has to be paid on a monthly basis, or it's payable X amount of dollars. No, wait a minute. The commitment is $12,000, but it's being paid at $1,000 a month. It's like you buy a car and your loan is $30,000 and you pay that loan off every month. So whether you drive the car or not, you're still paying that loan off. So it's not an option for them to out. And so be very clear about that if you take the monthly. But that's also a way of being able to get someone to sponsor you to finance it. To say, okay, then this is the monthly agreement, and I will have this monthly show or monthly whatever. Because like anything else, sometimes it may take a bit, depends on what it is, to get that ROI. It may not happen that very first time. Just like for advertising and PR, they say a minimum of 3 months. So it's depending on what you're doing and how you're doing it, how fast that engagement is going to be. But you do want that commitment over time. You want people, less is more. I'd rather have 4 sponsors that are going to go with me for the whole year than have a bunch of different sponsors that are here and there and create havoc and create work. Because the thing is about it, once you do it, it should be easy. Once you set that sponsorship into your website or on your blog or on your podcast, it's kind of like it's done. Then you just do speaking. You can speak to them through, again, your social media, through your different articles. So we've gone through what sponsorship is, different types of sponsorship, and obviously the in-kind sponsorship is when they give you something instead of the dollars. And the media sponsorship is when they say, I'm going to come and cover your event, I'm going to blast it out, promote it, I'm a partner with you in that. The audience, how important it is to get your audience clear, your niche, how important it is to see what you're going to do, whether it's going to be podcasts or videos or a combination of. It can be a combination of this, and this, or find out what they want more of, how to price them. And now I just say, now it's time to do it. Now it's time to do it. Just go out there and find a sponsor. Again, any business can be small. Don't think it has to be a large business. It could be your printing company. We've had our printers, like sponsors say, hey, you printed for us and we like your work. People always ask them where we get these cards from. Why don't you sponsor us? So they didn't give us money, but they gave us credit, to be able to have multiple orders done. So again, money saved is money earned. Does it work that way? Anyway, I hope I give you some information to start thinking about. Everyone should be thinking about who our potential sponsors are, and I'll be more than happy to help you craft your offer to them and work with you on that if you participate in the Power of 7, which is happening on the 18th and 19th. Until we meet again, stay empowered. See you soon.